No, don't say the one. Because we go into the one, this podcast is going to be 2 hours long.
I'm not doing that one. I was just talking about, like, I don't know, something about fatherhood. Somebody said something about fatherhood. I can't remember.
Actually, yeah. Let's
You remember that?
let's get into one of our. So we did a fan poll as far as like topics that they wanted us to touch up on.
Yeah.
And I think the fatherhood one is a good one. So I'm gonna find the exact question right here. Here it is. Fatherhood, specifically things you are or will teach your kids.
Yeah.
So Ashton, you and me are the R,
Right.
and Josh, you are the will.
Yeah.
So what are some things that you are like really crucial about instilling into your child, especially me and you, Ashton? We have sons.
Yeah, for sure. For me, I would say is the definition of being a man, in my opinion, is knowing how to navigate in this world.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I'm supposed to be teaching my son how to move, I'm encouraging him to think for himself, to look at certain situations and deduct what's the right thing and the right way to go about it. And I know that's a very broad topic, or that's a very broad saying, or however I want to put it.
Yeah.
But that's just something that I'm really sticking with. Like, whenever he asks me a question, I'll question him and it's like, well, why do you think that happens? Or why do you think he chose to do that? And I do that with almost every scenario that I'm in. I'm trying to get him to think and trying to get him to use his judgment to do the right thing. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, correcting him when it might not be the right answer, or giving him better additions to whatever answer that he came up with. Mm-hmm. But that's one thing that I know for sure that I'm trying to do.
Zach, what's one thing for you?
For me, it is making sure. I mean, my son is 4 months old, so it's a little bit tougher to talk about the things that I am instilling.
Right.
But one thing that I really focus on, even now at this age, is humility. My son is. I mean, I'll say it right now. My son is gorgeous.
Facts.
He's handsome. He's all those things that you would say about him. And my focus is like, as he gets older, I want to make sure that doesn't get to his head, because when those things get to your head, you start to act different, and sometimes it's not in the best way.
You don't want arrogance.
So my job as his father is to make sure that he understands. It's like, all right, yeah, no, you look good, but it don't mean shit.
Right.
True. I know exactly what you're saying.
It's more so what's on the inside. That's what you're going to get judged off of,
right,
in real life.
Right.
Confident but humble.
So yeah, confidence, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, no, it's humility.
Yeah.
If you don't have that humility, man, people will look at. It's going to get to a point where people are going to look at you differently.
Yeah, 1,000%.
And I want to make sure that my son understands that, because I'm going to teach those same lessons into, if I have a daughter, which I pray I do have a daughter one day.
Yeah,
I want to teach those same lessons into her, and I don't ever want to be looked at or called or think of myself as a hypocrite when it comes to raising a little boy compared to a little girl.
Yeah,
that's important.
Absolutely.
That's important.
I don't want my son to be a hoe. I really don't. Like, that's one of my biggest fears of him becoming an adult. It's like, man, he gonna feel himself and just be out here in these streets.
Yeah,
like, you gonna sit your dumb ass down.
Yeah, 1,000%. That's
what you gotta let him. You gotta let him live a little bit.
I disagree with that, because if I have a daughter, you're not saying that.
No, I agree to that, but I think that you got to give them space for error.
Shit.
I agree with you to a degree, but
you correct it.
Teaching, but okay, here's one thing that I feel like teaching my son how to be kind to another person.
Yeah,
is a very big thing also on my end. And
absolutely.
And while doing that, you're also encouraging him to how he treats women.
Yeah,
you get what I'm saying? We haven't had that talk yet.
Yeah.
We've had one incident with the crush and whatnot, and that that's.
Hey, keep your head up, Dom.
Yeah. Little girl hurt my baby boy feelings, man. I ain't like none of that. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Hey, that's a whole different topic. When your son get his heart broken, it's like, damn, man.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen again too.
Never thought I'd be having like that real conversation about, hey, man.
Tough.
You know what I mean? We had to have a real conversation. He moved on from it, no problems. But Yeah, that's one of those things I feel is important. Character qualities, man. Being humble and also being kind to people, man. That goes a long way.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Josh, what are you looking to instill into your make believe children that will one day be
Make
here?
believe children.
They'll be here one day.
They will be here one day.
I'm speaking into existence.
Man.
You stole mine. I was gonna say kindness. I want to instill kindness, but I also want them to have big hearts. So I want to instill love, and I want them to look at their parents, look at me, and feel that I love them no matter what.
Right.
Like they're important in this world.
Right.
That they're cared for, that they're heard, they're understood. Because I feel like, a lot of times children just want to be listened to.
True.
They want to be heard out. So I want them to understand, and I want them to move in this world with love in their heart. I don't want them to grow up, with this dark envy or pain or whatever that case may be. I want them to be able to, above everything, have that kind, sweet spirit about themselves.
Right.
And then I also want to instill in them communication, like positive.
That's big.
Communication.
That's big.
Especially for my boys. I want them to understand that it is okay to express your emotions. It is okay to cry. It is
really
okay to feel things deeply. Because, like, for me as a child, I was a crybaby. Somebody would say one negative thing to me, and I broke down in tears.
Right.
And people kind of, like, brushed it off like, man, it's going to be okay. And it was only until I got to maybe, like, I don't know, 4th grade, I had one teacher pull me to the side. He said, man, it's okay to cry, but you have to do something with that emotion.
Yeah, you can't hold on. You can't just hold on to it.
Hold on to it.
Right.
You can't just sit here and cry for hours. He said you need to figure out, the source of it. And I think that, instilling that communication and that emotional intelligence into them at a young age will set them up for success, in their adult years, to be one loving, one good communicators, and one in touch with their emotions.
I like that, sir. That was great. How much time we got, Zach?
3.5 minutes.
We can make it quick. What you got?
Just wondering if you think it'll be, as the world goes, do you feel like that's going to be more and more difficult to do with your children?
Instill love?
Yeah, like, do you feel like that's gonna, with how the world is today, do you feel like it's gonna be more difficult, or do you think it'll be easier because the example of what you shouldn't do is right in front of them every day?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you feel like it'll be?
I think it's definitely gonna be harder, just because of outside things, but to be able to put them in an environment where they feel that energy everywhere. So It's not just me and my wife. It's with their grandparents. It's with their uncles and aunties.
Right.
My close friends. They feel loved
Right.
and appreciated. They feel like they can be heard and can communicate effectively in those environments. I think that if they have that base, it don't matter what the world does.
Agree.
It just matters that they have that established foundation.
I get you. That makes sense. Fair enough, man. Anything else quickly?